Anxiety, depression, and thoughts of suicide, they're all part of a nationwide mental health crisis for young people, heightened by the COVID-19 pandemic.
According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the first signs of half of all mental disorders appear before the age of 14.
But for many parents, knowing your child needs help is only the beginning of an uphill battle. Finding that help can feel nearly impossible due to a shortage of adolescent psychiatrists and other mental health providers. According to a University of Michigan School of Public Health study, more than half of U.S. counties lack a single psychiatrist, leaving even fewer providers to treat adolescent patients and making already long wait times for appointments even longer.
One group in dire need of intervention is teenage girls. Recent data from the CDC reveals young girls are experiencing increasing mental health challenges at greater levels than boys.
Medical experts explain why they believe this is happening, and one young woman shares her journey with us from deep depression to newfound peace. When 18-year-old Mackenzie DeLon isn't at school,
that was my first sale for the day. Woo!
She's here at work. Her part-time job selling children's clothing and toys helps to keep her mind at ease.
And if you'll sign this receipt for me, it's the best feeling ever because you're helping bring joy into that little kid's life. You get to spend more time with each customer when it gets slower.
But it wasn't long ago this high school senior was severely depressed, struggling with the isolation of the COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges of adjusting to a new normal.
I kind of locked myself into this depression state. And when we went back to school, my grades started dropping. I didn't really care about anything anymore because I was so upset.
What were you thinking when you were sad and in your room? What was that like to be there by yourself, just alone with your thoughts?
It was dark. It was very, very dark. I was just thinking, why is this happening? Why me?
Mackenzie's story is not uncommon. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that record numbers of high school girls surveyed in 2021 reported feelings of persistent sadness or hopelessness, a 60% increase over the past decade. 30% reported they seriously considered suicide.
Our girls are faced with a lot.
Dr. Angela Spurgeon is a licensed psychologist with the Ochsner Healthcare System in Louisiana. She says part of the reason we're learning more about mental health challenges in teen girls is their willingness to talk about it.
Our teenage girls are getting more comfortable in talking about depression, talking about anxiety. They're feeling validated from their friends.
Dr. Spurgeon helps families navigate the complicated landscape of diagnosing and treating mental health disorders in children.
The biggest challenge that I'm seeing is really high levels of anxiety. The brain is staying in that fight or flight response for extended periods of time. And then what it tends to lead into in the children that I'm seeing is these depressive episodes. So we're not talking major depressive disorder, but it's these depressive episodes.
For teen girls, the anxiety they often feel may have a direct connection to the very essence of who they are biologically and the introduction of the hormone estrogen during puberty. Dr. Richard Chung is an adolescent medicine specialist at Duke University Health System.
So when stressors get beyond just typical day-to-day, but become what we call more toxic stressors, that's when the hormonal context of puberty may actually modulate the impact of that on mental health and may actually increase risk for mental illness among certain girls and young women. And so it's a complicated domain.
Complicating things more, Dr. Chung says doctors are seeing an ongoing trend of puberty starting sooner. An article in the journal Pediatrics reveals young girls are developing breast a year earlier than they were 15 years ago.
One key point to make is that, in general, girls who develop earlier tend to have higher risk of certain mental health distress and mental illness. There's probably a variety of factors going on there, but one thing that we often are cognizant of is when you start to develop physically, that really does change the landscape of how you engage the world.
A world that may be signaling to young girls to grow up faster, a message heard loud and clear through often scantily clad influencers on social media.
Social media right now is really prominent, and it is a very negative and toxic place. Girls are getting compared to unrealistic body images, and it's making people sad, and it's not a good place right now for where we're at in the world.
Are you on social media?
I am. I've tried to not worry about what other people think of me, because I'm not going to change who I am for somebody else simply because they don't like the way I look.
But social media is only a portion of what young people are exposed to online. Dr. Spurgeon believes the onslaught of content at their fingertips can be problematic and detrimental to their mental health.
Growing up, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a computer growing up. So, I didn't have that stuff fed into me. So is it the fact that children are they're consumed with information all the time?
Images of school shootings, environmental disasters, and ongoing political unrest.
Defend abortion rights!
I think for a particular individual young person, it's likely a combination of those different stressors and how they add up, and whether for that individual, those stressors become what we call toxic.
For Mackenzie, therapy and medication made all the difference.
I felt like a weight was lifted off my chest when I went to therapy every time, because I was able to sit down with somebody and they would understand what was going on.
Thanks to the help of a counselor, Mackenzie now has the coping skills she needs to manage her emotional highs and lows. She's now making plans for the future.
I often think at night about where I've come from and where I've started to where I am now. It's a completely different lifestyle that I'm living now. It's incredible, and it really is.
And Mackenzie is such an amazing person. I was so happy that she was brave enough to share her story with us so other people could benefit from it.
Yeah, and that really allows others who are watching this, who may be going through that same thing, to benefit and also see others are going through that as well too. Very nice.
Yeah. So how do you know when you should be concerned about your teen's mental health? Dr. Spurgeon says look for changes such as withdrawing from family and friends, poor academic performance, or unhealthy eating or sleeping patterns. She recommends having open conversations with your child about anxiety, depression, and suicide. Really listen to your child and validate their experiences without comparing their lives to yours when you were growing up. If speaking with your child is difficult, make sure there's another trusted adult available who your child knows they can talk to about anything. For more resources on adolescent mental health, go to our website, investigatetv.com.